You're listening to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by Referral Mortgages and Blue Panda Realty, with your hosts, Paul Stevenson, David Warren, and Greg Campbell. Let's see what's going on in the world of real estate in our nation's capital.
Hello. Welcome back to the Ottawa Real Estate Podcast.
What's shaking?
I think every show just starts with you saying that and me laughing.
Welcome.
I laugh every time, and it's a genuine laugh.
Yeah. Well, I never know what to say, so I'm just,
I'm not hiding that.
Welcome back. Let's see what's going on in Ottawa Real Estate Network. My name is Paul Stevenson. I'm one of the hosts, and I'm an owner at Referral Mortgages in Ottawa. I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Greg Campbell. He is a partner over at Blue Panda Realty, always over at, and David Warren is also an owner and a mortgage agent at Referral Mortgages. Gentlemen, how was the week? How are we doing?
First off, I feel like I'm betraying Northbrook because I'm drinking Starbucks coffee right now.
Oh boy.
And not in a toilet mug either. Unbelievable.
No, and I'm acknowledging it right now. Just, bring the comments.
Yeah, the comments have been unfavorable lately to some of us.
That last week, to some of us, yeah. Yeah, I responded pretty well, I think, to those. And I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed in the comments because I think that it was, I just didn't understand why they would think that I'm on the side of bad realtors out of that last episode. The last episode was clearly just saying that, the marketplace show again, just wasn't, there was a lot of missing pieces in the puzzle. And, if they had listened to I guess they probably did, but the show prior, I was saying clearly that it does happen a lot. And, and I was saying that I'm not cool with it. It shouldn't be happening at all.
Yeah.
And, that's just how it is. But it made it seem like I sucked after that last episode. They were basically saying, you suck, Greg, don't defend these people. And I was like, I wasn't defending anyone. I was saying those people, like, from the sounds of it, they were terrible agents. I was just talking about the show as a whole. I think did a bad job at their representation of what may be considered something.
There's a lot of holes. There was a lot of holes in the story and the plot line and research and the people brought in. But
they were positioning it one way. You were telling them a bit more of the story, trying to get a full picture.
Yeah, that's all it was.
We're in the middle.
I was in no way saying that it doesn't happen and that I'm cool with shitty, terrible agents. It's not me, man. You've only been watching long enough. That's not me. I'm a good guy.
I'm one of the good guys. Come on.
I'm the good guys, bro. Anyways. But I love the comments. So for everybody that's making those anything, it's it opens the conversation. So whatever. And if anyone is asking those questions, we're replying. If you want to have a chat about it more about anything, like, just holler. I love it. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to remember too. A lot of people are probably listening while they're doing other things, so they might just be getting kind of tidbits, or they hear you say one comment and don't hear the rest of the discussion or what have you. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
How was the week in real estate? What's happening in Ottawa?
I locked down 3 homes for buyers this week or last week, which was really nice. Some people I've been working with for a while. So that was good. Some success. And I got 3 new listings on the market now. So that's, it's good. I mean, everything's moving along. I know that sales are down, across the board, across the country than they were, year over year. And the numbers are definitely leveling out. Actually, yes. So in Orleans specifically, well, actually in almost all of Ottawa now, we have a percentage where you see what percentage a home sells for below or over list. And we're basically at even now. We're basically like 100%.
And
like some
do you think
some are still selling over, but on average, it's like about 100%.
Now, would you say though that, because that's kind of, I find those numbers are a little bit skewed because you can always be, like you can always be selling over list when the price of the home is undervalued, like listed way under, right? Like, and I know at the beginning of the year we were seeing that it was, always listing at the 499 in order to get attention to sell at 600 and 650. That was just the standard 499. What are you selling at? 499, 499, 499. So, I'm curious. So do you see that, like, do you think that's just indicative of the market as a whole, that it's more balanced? Or do you think that it's also properties being priced more appropriately? I think it's all of the above.
All of the above. I just think it's better overall.
Mm-hmm.
Some will still say it's a seller's market, but from what I'm seeing, like every deal I did was conditional on financing and inspection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we even went back, we got a wet inspection on one today for the fireplace and everything. And it's just like, and all the agents are great. Everyone understands it. The sellers understand. And each of these, just trying to think of what we got. We paid list price on 2 of these, and we paid 10 over on 1. So that, there you go. That's 3. And that's just me. So, I mean, that shows you exactly what I said. It's about 100% of list price.
Yeah, definitely every purchase agreement I got last week was for clients. They all had conditions, which was great. I mean, it's always, a lot of relief on my end when there are conditions. It protects the buyer, allows us to take our time to ensure that everything is locked down for financing, things like that. But even, and it was a varying degree of conditions as well, whether it be financing included. Another was no financing included, but it was conditional on them selling their home, which I hadn't seen in a long time. Things like that, which
unicorn.
Unicorn for sure.
Which was nice to see.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, average days on market, depending on what you're looking at, it's 20 to 30 days.
Mm.
There's still some selling in a week, obviously, but average. And that's signs of a more balanced market. Like buyers, and there's just, I mean, it's like I said last week or the week before, like I've seen so many homes lately. Like it's ridiculous. I haven't seen this many in one time in months.
I have been getting a number of clients that they still had to sell their home. They set a closing date out 2 months, and then listed their house, and it's, closings in the end of November, and they still don't have a purchase agreement had fallen through, or sale had fallen through, still listed. So I know I have been dealing with some pretty stressful, clients, and, one where it only sold a week and a half before closing of the new purchase. So we would have had been scrambling, for really creative financing, at the end, but it's certainly something where I think people aren't going to have to be as aggressive on that purchase. They can set that closing date of 4 months out and move it forward once they've sold their home or what have you, so they're not down to the wire like this. But yeah, overall, I love seeing conditions. It's always nerve wracking. People always think on our side, like, oh, well, you pre-approved me. Why can't I just go in unconditional? I don't need a financing clause. Well, you're pre-approved based on your numbers optically, but that's not taking into account the actual property itself. And it's not only the bank that has to approve it, but also the mortgage insurer. So the bank can be on board, but the insurer not. And so, you have these extra layers where pre-approval, it's not getting to the insurer. It's not based on the property itself. And so when people go, kind of really push for that, unconditional offer or no financing, we always say, like, your ratios are in line, but we can't speak to this property because it still needs to go through 2 extra layers of firm approval. You need to, this is your worst case scenario, best case scenario. You make the decision, but we can't tell you to omit a financing clause, right? But,
and everyone's expecting it now, so it's not a big deal. Like when you submit an offer with conditions, you just are like, all right, cool, you got it.
It's funny how things have changed so drastically this past year, and I know we talk about it every week of kind of the ebbs and flows, but it's when you look back to February and March, January to March, maybe even April. The tide started turning, I think, in May, but slowly. But yeah, it's kind of it's interesting how fickle the market's been in that sense. And people
I will say something. I know I will say something about the changes and things just suddenly happening that kind of shock you a bit. There's a property that I'm listing, and numbers were sitting around 600. It was like 600. It was kind of like, we're going to get 600 for sure. Wanted more, but I was like, it's not March. Excuse me. It's not, it's not how spring was anymore. Because on the street before that, they were selling 650 to 7 when it was really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, another one comes out before we list, and we're like, okay, well, let's just wait and see what happens. Same model, except it's an end unit, but it was listed at 598, sold for 685.
Mm.
And then another one came out right when we were going to list at 620, just sold for 640. So just talking about the changes, it's really funny how in for whatever reason in that one little pocket out here, that model or that house, that street, whatever, it's still going up. And then down the street, things are just selling at list price or just around, right?
But so it's always what you've said all along, Greg. If the house shows well, or it's a good property,
true.
Good location, good lot, whatever, or model in this sense or layout, then they will go, there will be more eyes on them or more interest, right?
Very true. Yeah. I was just surprised at that jump.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. No, that's,
I want to let everyone know, like, the numbers I'm saying are true. It's averaging. We're about 100% of list price. So if you're going out, you can expect to pay list price. And but there are these anomalies that are still going to keep coming.
You said the average day on market is 20 to 30 days now.
Yeah,
which is still quite. Historically, that's still a very.
That's
like
great.
You're listing your home and it's selling in 3 weeks. That's a pretty good listing.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Again, historically.
And it's still, and the fact that they're on the market for that long too, it just means that a lot of properties are overpriced. And a lot of the ones that will sell, let's say at the 30-day mark, they might have a price reduction before that sale, So if they're listed at like 650, they might be down to 625 and sell 625-ish after the 30 days. Because if one of the big rules in our business is if your house hasn't sold in 2 weeks, then it's overpriced. That's what I say to everybody. Like when I list a property and they don't really take my advice on what I think it should be listed at. I mean, it's very tricky. And, I just tell them, I'm like, you know what, we'll do your price, but in 2 weeks, if there's no showings and no offers, then we're coming down, and everybody agrees.
How often do you get clients that don't want to list at what you suggest?
Not often. I try to find a balance. I find a low and a high range, and then we just kind of talk about it for a bit.
Yeah.
And they usually understand my thinking and why we would be doing that. Whereas I had one recently that's, it's above what I want, but we came to an agreement because it was like they wanted a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're suggesting something and they're suggesting something that's over what you think, then at least as long as there's that understanding that we're in different places, and we'll see where it goes after they kind of set a next step.
And it just makes you got to be clear with your client, because it makes the relationship difficult. It can.
Right.
If they're like, well, no, this is what I want. This is what I want. And it's like, well, why am I here? Like, why have you hired?
I was just about to say that. Why take on a realtor?
Yeah. Well, that's the
provide
thing.
Advice on pricing, comparables.
Yeah. It's like, I'm showing you, these are the numbers. And you want to sell at what price now?
Yeah.
Come again. It's like,
based on what fact or what statistics or what research, other than hearsay of, looking around.
Well, yeah. And I mean, some people here, well, that house down the street 4 months ago sold for X amount of dollars. Right. And it's like, well, yeah, that was 4 months ago. And the last month, this many have sold at this price.
I know my home is priced properly. Okay? That's why it took me 3 months to sell it.
Yeah.
Says marketplace.
Listen, there's another colleague of mine right now working with someone taking care of an estate, and they're in from out of the country, from the US, to kind of handle it. And they keep saying, well, it's where I come from, this is how it works. Where I come from, this is how we do it. No, we're going to do it this way. And it's like, well, it doesn't work at all like that here. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. And then they're like, okay, let's get it all set up. And I'm going to go back to the States, and then you can just handle everything for me at my ridiculous price with my ideas.
Yeah.
And I had that conversation. They're like, well, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, well, I go, if you think it's really going to be a super nightmare, then I would just let it go. But if you can come to terms with them, kind of like I was just saying, and, make sure the communication is clear of what you need to do, then, it should be okay. Sometimes you just get people who don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Dave, you, speaking of people that are getting it, Dave, you
yes.
were talking to us about the bank of mom and dad before we came on here, and the kind of large number of dollars that have been kind of passed off to kids. Maybe you want to touch on that quickly for listeners?
Yeah, for sure. We've talked about it before. It's a pretty common trait, especially for first-time home buyers and in larger markets, but parents gifting a down payment. It can be a great strategy as well, and like a living inheritance where it's not taxed, things like that. And so this past year alone, there was across Canada, 10 billion was gifted from parents to their kids. For down payment.
Billion.
So it was, in the Toronto area, it was an average of 130,000 gifted. And I believe it was in Vancouver area, it was 180,000 or something of that nature. But, a lot of times it does, this also goes hand in hand with the increase in values of homes across the market. A lot of times we see it where parents are tapping into equity on their home or a HELOC. It's not coming from their, savings account or, whatnot. So that number will obviously keep climbing as,
now, do you think this is a reason why the government is proposing taxing primary home sales, like the capital gains, because of this sort of distribution of wealth?
I mean, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. I think it's, kind of as a short summary, it's the government spending too much money and their solution is tax more things to get more revenue. But that's a whole other rabbit hole. I really hope that doesn't come into of taxing prime residences. But I mean, if you're going to tax something, or if that's what your goal is because of gifted funds, then tax the gifted funds.
Yeah, right.
But those effectively are typically, it's after tax dollars, or, anyways. So, you're just taxing after tax. But I think, I think it's just interesting. That transfer, obviously, as home values go up and the minimum requirement for down payment increases, government brought in instituted that rule where it's, changed the rules about a year and a half ago, 5% down for the first 500,000, 10% down for every dollar above it, to a max purchase price insured of just under $1 million. So your requirement for down payment on an average home in Canada or in Ottawa is that much higher. So, yes, it's harder for first time home buyers to save up those funds. And so they are turning to their parents, for that help. And it's also become, I see it from financial planners of advice to those parents as well. Why wait until you've passed to then, pay tax on that estate where you could pass it along when they're needing those funds now, and it's in the tax, in a tax-free manner. So, I think as home prices go up, so do those parents' values go up where they can tap into that equity. And so will those gifted funds. But, I've had it before where people will call and they'll be like, my parents should gift me, 20,000 in, how do we handle this? And it's, I just look, that's common. It's, really first time home buyers. It's very common that there's gifted funds in one capacity or another. And so you're not, if you're somebody out there that is a first-time home buyer that's considering that is an accepted form of down payment from an immediate family member, and it's extremely common. So don't feel like you're out on an island alone.
The old MD financial, MD management, mom and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. Happened to me.
Yeah.
Many moons ago, many moons.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's, as I said, we'll see what that number translates to, or if, like you said, Paul, whether that changes, if there's any, changes in tax code of what they're looking at taxing, whether that be on primary residence or whatnot, if that changes anything. But
I know we've talked a few times too about the increase in available savings and debt pay down, like unsecured debt pay down over COVID and so on. So there probably is a lot of that $10 billion that was just, money saved, money kind of put on the sidelines or taken out of the market or what have you, that they're kind of redistributing elsewhere as well. So it would be interesting to see what a breakdown of that, like where that 10 billion came from, if it's leveraged against their properties or if it's existing savings or what have you.
Yeah, I don't think there's really an easy way of, they're not really easily able to track that. I mean, I think that would be a poll. Because gifted funds, it's easy to track. I mean, every purchase that's insured or with the banks, they have to record it. It's documented from a gift. On the mortgage side, we get the parents or immediate family members sign a gift letter. We have the matching check and deposit into their account. We relay that onto the bank with all that supporting documentation. So it's recorded as gifted funds for an exact amount. So that's recorded. As far as where that source is, in Canada, they haven't instituted where those funds come from. But one thing that is interesting is that they do not allow gifted funds in the US, from what I gather. I've spoken to a number of Americans that they don't have. It has to come from savings. So really is something that I found. Yeah. I don't know I'm sure there's ways around that. And there's, probably letting it seed in the account for X period of time, maybe, or something of that nature. But I was speaking recently with somebody from San Diego and they were letting me know that, but I'm sure that was interesting. Anyways,
before we get into the mood booster, everything, I wanted to say something that I forgot to say at the beginning to the people, who are commenting and who were, just talking about dealing with unethical realtors and everything. If you go to my YouTube channel, Real Estate Reality with Greg Campbell, there's a lot of good tips there for choosing the right realtor, first-time buyers, sellers, whatever. So go and check that out if you want some more information. Some more great real estate information. Actually, I have, I just finished my new series. I haven't seen them yet, but they're all done. So I'm going to be posting up every week for the next 2 months again. Yeah.
There you go.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
All right. Well, let's slide into the mood boost. We got to, I know we're doing a condensed show today, so we'll slide in the mood boost and we'll be back better than ever next week again. So I got 4, maybe 5 today. We'll see how these roll out. So number 1, couple Halloween jokes as well, just so, to keep it topical, although Halloween was yesterday, 2 days ago. Why did the ghost starch his sheet? He wanted to scare everyone stiff. Sticking with the theme from a few weeks ago, what do you get when you divide the circumference of a pumpkin by its diameter? Pumpkin pie. For all my 3.14s out there. Number 3, coffee has a rough time in our house. It gets mugged every single morning. I'll do 2 more quickly. Number 4, Apple is designing a new automatic car, but they're having trouble installing Windows. And last but not least, did you hear about the kidnapping at school? It's okay. He woke up.
Oh, wow. Those were actually great, man. Where did those ones come from this week?
That was a mixed bag. Little trick or treat.
Your buddy, David Coyle, is that his name? David Coyle? Does he not work with you guys sometimes? What's his,
Never heard the name.
Anyways. Oh, okay. Maybe not then. Maybe, wow. Okay. I'm confused. Maybe he just told me. Anyways, he's an agent, called me to talk a bit about Unreserved. And he's like, I got to tell you, I love the mood boosts.
That's hysterical.
I love the mood boosts. He's like, I do that shit too. He's like, I always got tons of jokes like that. And then he started texting me jokes, and I was like, this guy's hilarious.
That's awesome.
I had a good chat with him. Yeah, he works for Bennett Property Shop. David Coyle.
Okay.
Anyways, nice
okay. Yeah, shout out to David Coyle.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in as always. Quick shout out to North Brew, northbrew.ca. Use the promo code podcast and you'll get 20% off your coffee orders. Shout out to Mr. Stephen Hopkins, producer extraordinaire. And gentlemen, shout out to you both.
Shout out to you, Paul. Shout out to you.
Shout out to the 2 of you who I'm talking to. And yeah, we'll be back next week. Thanks as always for listening, and catch you later.
Catch you later, guys.
The Ottawa Real Estate Podcast is brought to you by Referral Mortgages, Blue Panda Realty, and Stephen Hopkins Video. Thanks for tuning in, and please remember to like, comment, share, and most importantly, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you.